Let's see what the draft look is going to be as we move into game 1 here for Dplus.
Yeah, it's been cool to see, you know, on the new patch what is popping up as OP stuff. It feels like Wukong is having a ton of success. Raptor also getting a win on that. It's currently 5-1. Also, Rel 4-0. So another big pick to be looking out for. Not necessarily picks that you would immediately think of as like the highest tier, but in terms of results so far, they're definitely getting them. There's the Wukong ban though, so giving respect to Raptors' Wukong play.
The Pantheon is gone. Varus and Azir are usually the ones that join on red side, although Shield will get the respect ban of the Gwen here in this one. So Poppy now banned finally. Could do some trading here with Azir, Vi, and Varus. You know, those are the big picks that are left available here that you would love to first pick. I'm kind of most concerned about Varus, to be honest, of these three in a game like this where you could just sit back and freely poke, get a lot of prio in the bottom lane. I'd like to see that banned because if I'm Dplus, I snap that one up 100%, especially with Showmaker's current form. But it is going to be Vi, so will we see the Azir or will we see the Varus? Those are the big ones here that are left available.
I would say take Varus for aiming 100%.
I would 100% take it. Like
Azir is really OP. Doesn't matter.
When both of these mid laners are arguably one of the weaker parts of their roster,
yeah,
you know, prioritize the good one, you know? Absolutely. Prioritize the Varus. Not the Trundle! Not the Trundle!
So are we giving them Azir and Varus?
I think they just did, Valdez.
Yeah, that's... I mean, Trundle
They don't even have to lock the Wukong yet. They could save that for the third spot. The Lee Sin has been a common response to this Trundle. I'm not a huge fan of it.
Yeah, we're not fans of Lee Sin here.
But it is not a lot of resistances to eat with the Subjugate. All right, well, this draft doesn't follow the rules of patch 25.14.
Rise group, baby! I mean, Lucian Braum is strong.
Yeah, it's good into Trundle.
But I do think that... Okay, well, Azir's just going to be ignored. And we've seen this matchup change a lot. Like, Taliyah is strong into Azir, but especially with the Azir buffs, it just feels like Azir is the king of the mid lane right now, even against Taliyah.
I really agree with you in that we've had so many times where Azir has just not been picked because Taliyah is up, and I don't think Taliyah is the counter to Azir. I think Taliyah shuts down a lot of what Azir wants to do, but it is absolutely still viable to play Azir into Taliyah. We've seen it 1,000 times. With the Lucian lock-in, they're going to go for the Senna Alistar here, and I think this is smart. You know, I have a lot of issues when teams are picking Senna with Corki up, and Corki seems to be one of the best responses right now. Lucian's still strong into Senna, but it's a lot safer to lock it in here, and since the Lucian was so face-up, you can get this. So now the Azir should be banned. Varus is completely ignored in this draft. Banning the Orianna first, even. They're like, they'll never pick Azir into the counter that we have here in this.
Showmaker's Azir has been pretty spotty, so maybe they're just giving a lot of credit to him to not play it, especially with the Taliyah hovered, although we talked about how that matchup is nowadays. But yeah, I feel like Showmaker might just go into something a little bit more comfortable, especially after his performance just earlier this week. He might just look for comfort.
There's no ball carrier really for this Orianna either. It's just a very bizarre ban to me.
Yeah.
Zed has been rising in priority, and when you have a lot of setup with the Taliyah, it can be strong. Everyone knows how I feel about Zed, but I think it's pretty good into Trundle too because of the mobility you have. And again, the subjugate value is pretty low, so that does make a decent amount of sense. It also fits Raptor's playstyle. He can, however, still just play Wukong. Well, that's banned, of course, from the first phase.
Yeah.
If it were left up, he could. He wants to, but he won't. The Azir is banned ultimately at the end. So I'm glad they finally checked that box, Valdez.
Yeah. Seems like they're back on the patch. It seems like. What is this last ban going to be? The Lee Sin was hovered, but we don't really think it deserves a ban. It's actually going to be Renekton, so they take that away.
I do think there's a lack of, really strong tank engage here for the side of BNK. They have a Braum, which isn't the greatest engage. It's going to be great at peeling for this Trundle, but it doesn't answer the Senna at range. The flanking, Taliyah could maybe get on top of the Senna, but also going to kind of struggle to set up that Lucian to blow her up. So this makes sense in terms of getting on top of that backline. So it will be the Ambessa they go for here. And Ambessa can, of course, just avoid all the front line and get straight into the back line and then buy that space for the follow-up to be there. So a strong pick here for Clear. Is blind, of course, now, so see what the response is going to be from Xiu.
Well, Ahri is available, but Vi is banned, so not looking like Ahri Vi. Also not going to be Ahri Wukong, because that's also banned.
Also not going to be Ahri Viego, because Trundle is locked in.
Yeah. TF. I mean,
I kind of like the TF angle in this draft.
As long as you bring in a little bit more damage to the top lane, I think it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I do like this because it both really hurts the lack of engage here for BNK on the risky poke they're looking for, where they're trying to set up the Taliyah, they're trying to get in there with the illusion on top. Either of those champions get gold carded, pillared, and just blown up, especially with the Jace here to back it up. Feels really strong. And, you know, the top lane matchup here can go pretty well for Jace early if you space really well into the Ambessa. Yeah. It gets a little bit tougher later on as Ambessa gets eclipsed and she just kind of continues to dash into you and you eventually get shoved out. But a lot of control early, a lot of gold generation there in the mid lane for this TF. And like you said, they needed damage. Jace does answer that question. It's all about controlling these early game fights. The lack of engage seems solved though for BNK because they got both the Ambessa and then the Jarvan lock in. Jarvan is pretty tough to play into Trundle if you don't have that follow-up and you don't blow up the single target instantly, because once you go in, you don't go out and the Trundle will just take your resistance away and they will just kill you so quickly, especially with a gold card on top. So BNK need to pick their battles carefully, but I do think they have the tools to get on top of this Senna. And I think this is a draft where I don't feel strongly like either team got the stronger edge. I think if both drafts are played perfectly, I would give a slight edge to Dplus.
I am on the exact same page with you. I was about to say the same thing because it's not an easy comp for DK to play, but on paper, it should be very strong, especially into what they're playing against. I think the Braum can get a lot of value against the amount of pick that DK has, but I am worried about the level of execution. Will it be up to the task of this composition is a great question. Whereas on this side, sometimes you just send in Ambessa and Jarvan and you just layer damage and it works. We'll see what happens as we hop on the rift for game number 1. Here we go, game 1 of match 97. Have we ever gone beyond match 90 in the past?
Man, you missed me and Atlas's whole rant about this on match 91 day, where I was like, we're boldly going where LCK has never gone before. No, it's the first time. First time we've ever had a 97. We had the first time 91, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but that's also crazy. First time 97 is Beryl is playing against Braum at level 1 as Alistair.
Yeah, nice wraparound from Kellen.
Almost just dies to a flash from Diablo there. He doesn't commit.
The issue with this is that he's going to be late to lane, but I think they can zone out aiming pretty effectively even early on.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's Braum level 1 with Lucian, and he is PTA, so if they have an extended fight, it is going to be really frustrating. Just going to stay in this tri-brush for the time being, as we'll take a look at Xiu here for a moment. That spacing we were talking about earlier.
Look, bottom lane.
Yeah, it's happening.
It is happening. And the Alistair will help a little bit, but not all that much.
It is, yeah. I mean, at least Beryl didn't have to flash or use heal.
But he took Q as well, which is kind of unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because you kind of want Headbutt to just like push them away so that aiming gets a little bit more space. But now it's like, oh, aiming doesn't get space. And it's Diablo and Kellen. This is the duo with the highest duo kills in the LCK.
Yeah.
So that's more than Ruler and Duro. That's more than Guma and Keria.
Yeah.
That's more than, you know, Viper and Delight. It's Diablo and Kellen on top of the duo kills. And they know how to push their leads in lanes.
Yeah, and they will do
exactly that.
They will be doing that, as you say. So pretty frustrating down here for Beryl, who was the victim of that Braum at level 1. On the top side, though, things going a lot better. We saw the beginning of that. The Showmaker has an incredible win rate on the champion. He's wearing his skin. He is a world champion on this pick. Here's the the kind of rub I have with this comp for Dplus, like Valdez, I talked about how it played perfectly to give them an edge because they have that extra flank angle with Showmaker. They have the extra appeal for the Senna with it with the gold card. It's just so flexible. Dplus's shot calling and decision making has often left us with like Shiyu teleports by himself while the rest of the team is leaving, or Showmaker is coming into a fight all alone, or the positioning of Barrel means he's dead before the fight begins, and then Showmaker is vulnerable and gets engaged on. So I'm worried because if you asked me before this week, I would have been like, yeah, I mean, given the history of these players, 100%. But after watching the performance against Bro, we all have to wait and see is the most optimistic I can get.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a good comp. 100% very viable, very strong, but the execution has to be there.
Yeah, I mean, the pick potential, the burst damage they have is pretty nice with the Jace follow-up, and you know, hopefully they make a lot less mistakes. I'm sure that after that day, they were all very disappointed, went back and practiced a bunch. I think that it might just be like on the day form thing, or at least I hope. And, you know, Bro got the close win over DRX. It wasn't clean, but, you know, 2-0 on the week. So maybe Bro are looking better nowadays. This happens all the time where it's like the relative strength, and we don't know exactly at the very beginning, like, was DK playing poorly? Yes, they were, but, like, are they bad per se, or is Bro good in a sense? So
yeah. There's also
I think it's a bit of both.
The element of when you're doing really well in scrims or practice, like anyone who's competed knows this, like you've probably had this experience when you were doing competitive hockey where when you're having this hot streak in your own scrimmages and your own practice, it gives you this feeling of like, all I gotta do is do what I did in practice. And there's so many ways that can actually translate poorly into a tournament, especially at the beginning of a league like this, because maybe you learned some bad habits actually through those scrims, or perhaps you became overconfident and then you were winning so hard that when you got up in the face of adversity, or you drafted a little bit laissez-faire as Dplus did, you end up getting punished in a way that isn't quite like your practice, and then you got to recalibrate. So that could be part of it as well. Again, based on the reports we had of Dplus's scrims, I don't read too much into scrims, but it's all the information we have outside of that one best of three.
Scrim bucks are at an all-time low, I feel like, nowadays. Like, from years past, we used to put a lot of importance in it and talk about it a lot. Nowadays, it's like, yeah, well, that's a cool story, bro. Let's see how they actually play, because there have just been so many times where we hear, oh, they're playing well in scrims, and then they just kind of drop the ball. So hopefully they can figure it out. I would say that, you know, teams that are at the top of the Legend group, they can play that overconfident style, but DK, I think it should have been a reality check that, hey, we got put into the Rise group. And yes, we're the top team in the Rise group based on the standings, but we might be in trouble anyway, as we got a little Braum engage here. You can see about how well that went. It did not go well.
I mean, he successfully got rid of 2/3 of his own health bar.
Yeah, it went well in a sense, I guess. And now they're just standing right in front of an Alistar trying to burst down aiming, who just flashes away, but the damage not quite there to take out Diablo, who is playing on the knife's edge, but playing it perfectly too. And now it's going to be Barrel who has to flash away himself.
That's that Diablo diff, man, every time. Like you said, he plays it so perfectly and baits them in with the previous trade. They still have Summers, they got the heal, they got the barrier, and they have a lurking Raptor. So Dplus, also knowing they had the Trundle in the area, thought they could actually force the issue there. It doesn't result in a kill, but it was nearly one there. Aiming now down that critical flash.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he just stood there and took the damage from Lucid and Barrel and did not care. They're going for the re-engage here as we got TF coming down here. Showmaker is going to flash behind the Braum wall, and he is going to do a bunch of damage, but not enough to take out Diablo, as who will be the first blood? It will go over to Raptor, but it is traded back, as Showmaker does get a kill himself.
Yeah, Vikla does have ult and is heading down here, but I don't think he'll be able to get a catch, so probably will just end up going straight back to mid lane. Doesn't have TP. In fact, he's just going to hold this wave here as they get the back, so a little bit disjointed now, the lane setup here for BNK, but he is Talia ultimately, so it won't hurt too much. But this is the eventuality of this is Diablo wants to go in, look for this pick onto Barrel, but the TF ultimate is such a big problem, and Diablo plays it well. Again, like he has flash advantage, he gets away, but now, unfortunately, this Raptor Jarvan is like in his own Cataclysm. He's getting stunned by the Alistar, and the peel was real. He does end up trading it, but I think it's a massive trade up for Dplus because that's a TF versus a Jarvan picking up the gold.
Yeah, feels pretty good in that facet. BNK is going to maintain a very slight lead here. No objective plays just yet, but a lot of pings around the grubs, as it does look like both teams might want to fight for that one, with Vikla coming up here and joining. Makes it easy when your bot lane is mid to fight over the grubs, and it's Leah's bot, as you were saying. She can just ride the wall and come on up and just help out with these grubs, and that just means that DK will give them away. But it is some free time for Showmaker to hit this turret.
Yeah, Showmaker was a little bit behind in farm, but is now completely caught up because of this, and we'll get that plate. Vikla can rotate over here. We'll get, looks like, the last bit of these minions, just the last two. Because of his passive, we'll just surf his way down. 3 grubs to BNK feels really good, especially with this Ambessa that can spend some time inside. It's not the best side lane comp ever, but into TF, at least he's got 0. So that's a big win. It's a really even game here, to be honest with you, Valdez. You know, you and I were talking about this a little bit yesterday off camera. I think sometimes it's overstated that, like, they don't have enough of a lead. There's a Senna over there, and I think I think maybe there's just, I mean, Dplus have a 400 gold lead already. There's no way they'll catch up. I still think there's a lot of league left here to play. There's a lot of mid-game that we haven't gotten to just yet, where the explosive power of BNK's comp can be truly realized. So Dplus with that really cool TF ult, right? Showmaker getting value out of that early, has it back up now. That's often one of those old adages that Atlas says all the time, is like, how often and how quickly do you get value out of TF ult? When's your first ultimate, and what do you get with it? And Showmaker's already passed the test.
Yeah, it's like, you know, a lot of champs that have those very long cooldown ultimates that are game changing. You think about Nocturne in a similar light. So the 3 grubs did go over to BNK, and now they're going to look at the dragon potentially. No?
Looks like it.
Maybe at least gank instead. Maybe just a ward put down. Okay, they're going to start this dragon up.
The cool thing about having the mid prio early, you know, where you have your bottom layers in mid and then a solution into a Senna early game, means that you can group towards the TF that's bottom side, because his global isn't going to get any impact if you're actually taking an objective on the same side of the map that he is. So you can just push him in there and take the dragon for free. And at this point, you know, Shiu can get some small advantages in lane. He has a 20 CS lead, but it's not going to be like they can make a cross map there with Lucid to try to dive this Ambessa. So really nice lane setup here for BNK, and they end up being the victors of both objectives.
That's pretty big. We do have Mountain Drake on the way, so we'll see about which soul it is. A couple of really good ones. Actually, we're going to have an engage here, as we do have Braum coming up for the gank and a TP as well. Shiu is going to be run down. He's going to dodge that Q. Still has his flash, but I think at this point, especially with the Talia coming up, he's just going to accept his fate. And Vikla is given the kill after that nice play there from Clear.
Really good coordination there from BNK to utilize that global of the Talia. It's one pick that Vikla, I think, hasn't gotten a lot of credit for this year, but he has played really well, the Talia, and the simplicity of how you can set up picks with this. You know, it's somewhat of a mechanically intense champion in terms of where your placement is, but otherwise, if you just use your brain and macro well, as Vikla has been able to do with this team for their early game aggression, it just fits the bill, and he makes it work really well. He's put out a lot of the fires of this early game with what happened bottom side, and you can see this time just going straight up for the TP, knowing that'll give him enough space here to actually lock him down with the Weaver's Wall. Even the heal used here just to guarantee, and at that point she was like, well, just cooked. Unfortunately, my jungler and my support are just a little bit too far away.
Yeah. Very good timing there from BNK. And you'll notice that DK still have the gold lead. That is because of the TF. And that is the only reason. So Clear has really shored up his top lane, has made that pretty even, and then everywhere else, BNK are winning slightly. They also have all of the objectives, so feeling very good about their current state. I feel like 3 of the souls that we could have are actually going to be very good for them.
Yeah.
About Ocean, Infernal, and Hextech are obvious, but Ocean also into the poke, into the pick, I think is going to be very strong. And I feel like over the years, I've become a lot more friendly to Ocean Soul. I feel like it is actually quite strong.
Yeah, we've watched a lot of fights this year where it has been incredibly powerful.
Especially if you play well around it and you, like, take poke fights and purposely try to use it instead of just like, okay, well, our comp goes in, we're just going to go in.
During the time when we were, as a global team, pretty anti-Ocean Drake, I think was during the time where team fights were lasting about 3 seconds, and it was just like chain CC.
Yeah, it was CC Fest, yeah.
We still have a little bit of CC Fest, but it's a little bit more slower, measured setups on objectives. The CC Fest happens when one team starts getting poked out a little bit too much. Like, we got to do all the CC now because we're losing the poke war, but Cloud, or rather, sorry, Ocean gives you the win in the poke war to force that engage that's often comfortable, which DK might be looking for here as well because they do not have prio of this entryway. It was still 2 minutes away from the Dragon, but it looked like Dplus really wanted to force something there. Look at where Vikla is right now with his Weaver's Wall. He can impact this play if they are going to fight. So Dplus really need to be careful.
Yeah, you know, we talked about BDD, and are we going to have a fight here? We have Ghost popped by Barrel. He seems to want to go in. There's the flash engage on aiming as they get it done with the Jarvan, but the damage doesn't get down. Vikla finally takes him out, and the gigantic shove from Vikla gives them so much room in this fight as Lucid and Showmaker have to back away and leave Barrel alone. Only Raptor goes down, and it's a big win in a little skirmish here in the river.
It just makes no sense as to what Dplus was trying to force there to me. I mean, I called it a mile away. I was like, this is risky. I don't know if they should be fighting for this, and what are they fighting for? And like, Vikla was already set up. He was like in the tri-brush, like, I think they're going to try to make some funny business happen with Showmaker's ult. Like, look at where he is on the minimap. He's like, this seems weird. Not sure about this one. And aiming, by the way, on Senna in the early game is not the skirmish champ you're looking for, especially into a Jarvan. So by the time Showmaker gets here, Vikla's already here, and everyone's just balled up on top of this Cataclysm, and it's super easy for Vikla to get the flip back. You can see this fight ends up being relatively close even still with the double 80 carry that Showmaker's essentially providing here. He's a secondary 80 threat in this skirmish, but unfortunately aiming just did too little, and BNK were so ready for that.
Yeah, I mean, Sundered Sky and Raptor, okay, Barrel's just dead here once again. He is going to flash, actually, so he barely survives, but, like, not exactly providing value, you know? Somebody has to go in there and get some wards down for the Herald that's about to spawn, but if you just go in and die, that means the enemy team gets the Herald anyway by default, so BNK should be able to get that down. But yeah, the Sundered Sky and the Locket got so much value in that last fight. Yeah. It was kind of insane. They survived for so long. Like, that 3-man knockup that came in from Barrel was actually huge, but as you mentioned, they just don't have the damage yet.
Yeah, I mean, BNK just were so fast to engage first and say, I see your plan, I see your tricks. There's another world where Vic like interrupts Showmaker's ult and things look even worse, right? But he wanted to actually go up and try to match the rotation. His shove was phenomenal, but set up by Raptor in that situation. Those are the types of skirmishes you want to take with this BNK comp. Like, you want these fights. Dplus are just like, you can have it. Here you go.
Yeah. By the way, I said the Rift Herald would be free for BNK. Not the case. They kind of just let it go and went for the Drake instead. And we'll see how that trade works out for them, as first turret might just go the way of DK at this point because they've got a Jace, and they have the Herald, which they're smartly not even going to use here, as nobody is here to defend, so they just say, well, we can use it on the next turret if we want to, or we can use it mid.
Hextech Soul is the gamble. BNK were looking for one of those high roll souls like you mentioned. The worst one would have been Chemtech, right? But they statistically we're going to have a probably good soul here.
Yeah, 3 to 4.
They decide to go for that as aiming is the target.
All right, engage Braum. Let's see how it works out. It's not going to work out at all. TF comes on in. Jarvan, Raptor tries to follow up, but BNK are going way too deep on this fight, and they will be punished for it. As BNK, they just can't deny themselves a fight, and DK say thank you very much. We will take those 2 kills.
Bit of a head scratcher here on this one, but BNK want to take as many fights as possible, right, with this comp when it's at its strongest, but taking a risky one like this is at a heavy cost when now the Rift Herald is going to get charged in. It will be denied, actually, by this Weaver's Wall.
That was a nice angle there from Vikla, actually.
Really safe deny there, not really any counterplay from Dplus, so at least this gets shut down. But 2 dead here on the side of BNK after a forced attempt from Kellen. Like you said, of all supports to try to make this play happen. It's aiming who's isolated, right? But he reacts quickly here, and Barrel is there to peel. And I think they just didn't expect that. And then Raptor ends up taking turret aggro here, so this is just really unfortunate. When you have a pillar, it's really tough to get out. And even a Jarvan, who's already used his mobility, is just not going to escape.
Yeah. Like if TF didn't have his ult and Raptor went in at the exact same time, sure. But that was just... yeah, that was a little bit of a overstep there. Not the first time BNK have done that.
If they didn't have that Weaver's Wall, then they also lose mid-turret. So it's kind of crazy the risk that they took there. And now, Dplus Kia taking a pretty significant lead in the jungle, especially as TF is rocking that Rod of Ages, starting to get more and more closer to transforming, and obviously has that TF gold advantage that you're going to generate over time with the passive. So this is a pretty good game state here for Dplus. Once again, aiming the target.
Yeah, they're not letting him play the game, or at least they're trying. And that time they did, about 20% of his health. So against the Senna, I don't think she's really going to care. But I like the effort there from BNK.
The problem is, like, Xiu keeps being the winner in sides every time they make these big commitments, and he's going to, get some free damage done to this turret. They are sending Raptor down. Meanwhile,
Lucid trying to take this. I'm not sure about that.
Raptor has flash. He is seen. Xiu is going to Ghostblade out. That was a close one.
Yeah. Maybe if he gets the knock-up, they can turn it into something, but no knock-up, no reason to try to force a Cataclysm with TP available here on Showmaker. Got to be careful.
Yeah, and, Xiu's still having flash, too. Can just react there. But did have to use his Ghostblade and reacted very quickly. Very smart. And he got some additional damage to that turret. That bottom turret is some standing gold that is going to be easy to knock down if he's given just a second. His teleport is coming back online. See the gold leads here. Again, we've talked about a mid and jungle for the side of Dplus. Aiming slightly behind in gold, but that's less valuable than the stacking he will have, especially with this Trundle that's getting bigger and bigger.
That was a very nice pillar. Now we got Exhaust and a TF coming in. He takes a while to die, but 4v1 not going to be very fair. As BNK say, well, you got clear. What can we get out of this? I'm not sure they're going to be able to get anything. As the rotation comes back in, we got a wall, though, coming over from Vikla. Trying to get at least a little bit of pressure. But meanwhile, Showmaker just looking for the inner and top lane. This guy is getting Omega fed in this game.
Yeah, he is huge. 700 extra gold here as he continues to take out these minions and stack more passive. 2 minutes away from Rod transformation. And that's going to put him, probably about halfway through 15. He'll be level 16 before you know it. And look at where Xiu is. He's like, yeah, there's a really low health turret down there, but I'm simply not going to be anywhere near it because I know we just over-index on top side. I'm not going to be a juicy target. I'm not going to be vulnerable.
What do you think about the Sadakon here, Wolf?
Barrel and Showmaker just TP mid, and there's a line of vision on their rotation over. I think this is a really safe take here for BNK.
Well, they know now. Do they have the damage is really the question. I think they do, and at this point, you kind of have to commit. As you can't pull off now. Let's see how it goes. And yeah, Lucid not going to be able to get here in time. The damage is there. Very nice call from BNK. They're going to get a bunch of the petals on the map and just back away for really not a big risk. The only thing is that the dragon is coming up here in 10 seconds.
Yeah, they didn't really use ults outside the Weaver's Wall earlier, so it could still be a fight for them as long as Clear doesn't get eaten.
This pick comp is so annoying.
It's so frustrating.
And I mentioned it before, the Braum is going to be very good into it, but Showmaker kind of just ghosted at them, and they all had to run away. So that should be Hextech Drake here for DK on top of everything.
It's their first Dragon of the game, and it's not, I think, individually going to be as valuable as the Otacon itself, but at least they're able to get something out of this. Crazy that both this bottom and mid are still up, these turrets. Finally, Xiu will take down this bottom turret, and the mid turret with a group from Dplus will also probably fall. They already got the inner top side, so Showmaker is so massive. And now Senna feels really safe. It's not about the gold lead that she has in this game or what items she has, but it's a game where he's stacked up to 50, and they have a big Trundle and a big TF, and this Alistar is going to give shields. And Showmaker, when he buys Majai's, his win rate is really high on those games. Like, when he buys Majai's, he's feeling himself, and it's a Showmaker Majai's game.
If you buy Majai's, I would say your win rate is pretty high, right? Because you're like ahead, you're feeling good, you've got a lot of momentum.
Yeah, he is on 3 items and a Majai's.
Yeah. It's a really good item for TF because you have to go the rapid fire cannon, which gives you that extra range, but it's no AP, right? So it allows you to just stay very safe, but also stack up a bit and eventually do a lot of damage. So feels very good, especially when you've already gotten a bunch of stacks.
And I think Dplus here, how they're playing this 3-1, or 1-3-1 rather, is exactly how it's been played since the beginning of time. And BNK need to be willing to commit to killing TF, because the way Shio is being on the bottom side, the one, he's just not putting himself in a vulnerable spot. They keep trying to kill him, and he gets away every time, as Lucid may have overextended here.
Yeah, he is in a bit of trouble. He does have to flash away. Bit of a wall comes down on top of it all. The engaged Braum, once again, not really going to hit, but Beryl is all by himself. He's like, hey guys, I heard there's a party. And then he showed up late when the cops were already there. So BNK just take him down.
This is a huge swing. Kill. They're going to get so much map control from this, and Aiming's flash being down is huge on this Senna. Big mistake from Dplus. Oh, no way, no way!
Lucid! And the flash over the wall, Vikla! He's feeling himself today, 3-0-2. He says, I'm fed as well.
That's a shutdown, and Shio's in no man's land.
And they're forcing it. This is so smart from BNK. They know that DK cannot step up to this turret. Unfortunately, DK did not know that themselves. BNK getting a lot on the map here as they take that inner mid out as well.
Are Dplus a house of cards? Dominoes, or like somebody's sandcastle that's got kicked over? I don't know, but they're falling apart. They built such a lead. They had so much map control. Their lane setups were so good. They still have a gold lead, but this is a huge turnaround here. And they're trying to play through the fact that Showmaker's up here with so much topside control with this fed Trundle. But I think they don't really expect this fast rotation up. They're so expecting that the play is going to be to try to catch the Jace bottom side, where Shio was playing super safe, and then Trundle overextends. Beryl comes over to try to peel. He dies. The Trundle is flashless. The Senna is flashless. And then Vikla is able to make this play here, reading where he's backing. Blind over the wall, gets the flash kill here. But they're not done yet. They make the play in mid, pushing onto Shio, knowing that Aiming doesn't have flash. He's the next to get punished. So as this is all happening, Shio's like, oh man, I'm just trying to hold this turret. And then Aiming ultimately becomes the main target here as he gets collapsed on by Raptor. Great Cataclysm here. Down goes the Senna. So much map control now to BNK, and that side lane TF threat a little bit less of a worry now.
Yeah, you guys might have caught it, but we got a little clip of Lucid saying sorry to his team, because he knows, I mean, he was the first domino, right? He gets caught, Beryl gets caught, he dies eventually, does Lucid, and then Aiming dies in mid, so gotta be very careful in the LCK. Any team, if you give them a little inch, they will take a mile, as now Beryl, looks like pretty smart from Vikla not to go that way. But still, Showmaker getting a lot of value in the side lane.
Yeah, he ends up getting another inner turret. And later on, if this game goes long, you know, he can start threatening the inhibitors themselves in these types of plays. Clear with the interrupt.
Yeah, he's going to spot him with the ward, and now Showmaker trying to ult away, and that he will. So, at least going to get the ult out of Showmaker, I guess.
Yeah, it doesn't save the turret, but still pretty valuable. It's a trade of ultimates. The next Drake spawns in 45 seconds, and Showmaker will not have that valuable Destiny gate to squat out the positioning of this flanking Mbessa potentially, or to reposition. BNK trying to clear some Baron vision though first before turning their eyes towards what would, if they take it, be Hextech soul point for them. Interesting. They're going to grab that red buff here for Diablo before they rotate down, but this is just going to give Dplus free prio on this dragon. I think Dplus read this well. They're like, I still have some vision on Baron, and you guys are all topside before the stronger and more realistic objective spawns.
Yeah. Let's see Lucid ghost away. He's a bit traumatized from what happened earlier on in this game. Or not Lucid, but he's going to run away at least.
Yeah.
Somebody ghosted. And now, control is actually in favor of BNK. So
yeah, that was a really nice attempted catch, and maybe it's the trauma, but Lucid just concedes the point. Now, trying to push towards Baron is not realistic here. And remember, Showmaker doesn't have ult for 8 more seconds, but he is trying to look for that wraparound right now. He takes the safe, longer path around the left side here. And now that that ult is back up, maybe that's the play for Dplus. Look for the backline here. Shio also on the flank. Big shock blast.
Yeah, only going to hit Kellen, though. And so it might just end up being a flip here if Lucid can get in, and he's right next to it. The wall comes down, though, and Lucid's on the other side, and, well, he gets in range anyway and just smites it. Oasis, thanks for the leash. And, well, I liked the setup from BNK, but the execution was not there, and Lucid says, thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, the shove was a bit early there from Vikla, and Lucid just walks up, doesn't even have to flash to get in there, and it is just a flip. And now Dplus, by the way, with the recall timings for BNK are like on Baron, and BNK have to rush over to make sure it's not being done. It's not, and their comp doesn't have enough damage to rush it at this point, even with a TF that's this fed. Still a TF Senna comp, but BNK losing a lot of control, a lot of tempo after this.
Little super crab fight.
That one ward for BNK also super valuable next to the Baron, giving them additional information. As we're looking for potentially a pick here on the barrel.
Yeah, not exactly the best target. And he's going to knock Raptor straight into the team. He has to flash away, and now the picks are going to be coming out, but Clear shows up. And DK taking this safely. A big Cataclysm, but he immediately dies. The follow-up's not there. BNK going very deep into this one. They take out the Alistar finally and force you to flash away. And now the picks continue to come through the gold cards. The center roots, the pillars, as Ingo's clear. He's in the backline by himself, and he gets burst down once again. As DK are playing this so well, just keeping them at arm's distance. And that's going to be the end of that. Vikla, though, pretty tanky. And he is going to push them away, so...
It's a 4 for 2. Still a trade up in terms of kills for Dplus, but they cannot take the objective right afterwards.
That was so weird.
So Raptor engaging on the barrel here costs them so big, because like you said, he loses a ton of health for this, has to flash away, and that flash is so valuable for getting on top of the Senna. Watch aiming for the rest of this fight. He's like, okay, it's done. I'm Senna. I'm just going to sit back. Gets cataclysmed, gets ulted here by Diablo, still sitting back and healing. Flashes the ult from Shiu, so keeps himself at arm's length there, while Showmaker just sits here and helps peel for him. And aiming just layers in damage after damage after damage. Ults here. Clear gets on top of him as everyone on BNK is like, if we kill aiming, we could win this fight. They're not able to do it, though. And maybe if the engage is a little bit crisper there from Raptor, if they're able to start that fight off and he could flash on top of aiming, things could look very different, but Dplus played it so well, knowing that all those big engage tools were already gone. The flash from aiming, his positioning in that fight, that's how you Senna. And he is showcasing it here incredibly well, now up to 83 stacks, and Dplus now in the complete driver's seat in this game.
Trying to look for another pick here. A lot of summoners are down, and Diablo is just getting flanked from so many different directions. He's got a Braum in front of him, but it still doesn't matter. Lucid survives, and that'll be the end of BNK's bottom lane as they both bite the dust. We'll see if DK want to start up this Baron here. 5v3. I mean, Raptor's full health and his Jarvan, so it might be a little bit difficult, but still going to look at it.
And, I mean, at this point, Vikla needs to get a big shove. Doesn't have wall, doesn't have flash. So closing that gap is very tricky. Clear trying to find an angle.
Now, looks like they want to try to look for a pick to Showmaker.
No flash for Raptor, but he is Jarvan. They're trying to go in.
Clear is going to get to the backline. He's doing a lot of damage, but he's just one guy. He stops him from doing the Baron, which I feel like is worth, but it's only temporary, as now Vikla's just going to TP away. And DK say, maybe we could just do it now.
I think that was the game-winning fight for Dplus, to be honest with you, Valdez. They just go from strength to strength from there. They have the setup for Baron. It's really easy to slow play it there and punish all those low-health members of BNK. Low damage as well, realistically. As Vikla doesn't have flash, he tries to go in there with Clear, and they just focus Clear down and say, thanks for the delay on the Baron, but we're still going to take it. As this is just really proactive here from Dplus. Diablo is the target. He gets burst down. Lucid is incredibly low, gets locketed, but he's Trundle. He's so tanky. Gets that subjugate value. And then Clear here, I mean, you want to kill aiming, I get it. Like, you weren't able to do it last time. You're like, maybe one more try, but there's just too much Dplus here. Braum also dead in live.
Yeah, not sure what was happening here. Probably just going for some wards and got punished. And yeah, a little zoom in on a Showmaker who did use his ult again, so that is how they found him.
25 stacks of Majai's,
yeah.
Level 18.
He's actually a damage dealer now. Like, his cards are gonna chunk. It's pretty insane. He's on 5 items. He's full build.
He is full build.
31 minutes.
He has his Zonias completed. It's very difficult to kill him. He has unsealed spellbook, so he can kind of do anything too.
I don't think it's possible. Like, he would have to be very out of position. Like, they just don't have the engage tools to do it, which is part of why forcing Lucian Braum sometimes can get you in trouble if DK are going to draft like this and play it out very intelligently. So we got a little wall here. Nice little knock-up on a Shiu. And a little TP flank from both, but they're both now out of the fight. The two of them are just not here. They're just not in the fight at all. as the two damage dealers just get eaten alive, and that's going to be the end of Raptor as well, as there's the chunk from the card, and I think DK have done it in a very clean game number 1 victory.
Great start here for Dplus. I know Dplus fans are worried about the pattern where game 1 always looks great, but this was a really strong showcasing of how to play this comp. That was the biggest doubt I had. Will the coordination be good enough? Will the peel be good enough for aiming? And the game-winning fight showcased it. Absolutely it was. Showmaker going golden as the Nexus falls. Bit of a redemption story for him in this first game, but it was more than just Showmaker. It was more than just the TF plays.